Welcome to the Plant-Based Podcast. Did you know that plants are truly amazing? Not only can you grow them and eat them, you can also wear them, drink them, nourish your skin with them, and so much more. Let Ellen and Michael inspire you to love plants as much as they do, as they chat with the movers and shakers in this wonderful plant-based world. So, let's dig in.
Introducing our sponsors, LAVA-LITE. Now, LAVA-LITE No Slugs is the other red one. Preserve your plants by creating a ring of protection that slugs and snails just won't want to cross. No Slugs is highly absorbent material that acts as a natural slug deterrent and barrier whilst benefiting your plant with moisture control properties. A natural, child and pet-safe pest control product that doesn't harm any predators. Look out for it online or in your local gardening stores.
Hi everyone, Ellen Mary here. I have to just tell you how excited I am about today's plant-based podcast episode. Firstly, thank you so much for listening. As always, we hugely appreciate all of you downloading our podcast. It means so much. We love bringing the community together and just chatting about plants. And the next two guests on this episode are going to make you smile because their enthusiasm is truly infectious. Two girls who are sisters, who have found gardening, a love of gardening, and now building an absolutely awesome business out of their love of plants, basically. It's Shannon and Tanya. They are going to introduce themselves. You're going to love this episode. I know you're going to walk away at the end absolutely smiling. Here we are, Shannon and Tanya with The Gardeners Co. It is genuinely such a pleasure to chat with you. It's always a pleasure to chat with you, and I think we'll go into how we met and everything in a bit. But before we do, each of you, can you introduce yourselves? Tell us your Instagram handles and what you do individually before we come together and talk about all your plans for your amazing stuff coming up.
You go first.
So I'm Tan or Tatiana or Mum or Tanya, whatever kind of gets chucked my way. I am now a gardener with very basic gardening skills, but I'm learning. I'm also a massage therapist. And my kind of focus with everything I do is all about connection. So I'm really privileged to get to work with people and nature and how those two combine and kind of supporting people to connect with each other, themselves, and everything around them. And it's very exciting. We're on this crazy kind of roller coaster adventure with the outdoors. And it's really exciting to be able to share it with my wonderful sister, Shannon.
Hello, I'm Shannon. People call me Shan more, but I find recently that I keep introducing myself as Shannon and finding it very formal. I feel like people are telling me off when they call me Shannon now, and I'm like, please call me Shan. Please call me Shan. But yeah, I'm Shannon, and I'm better known as Diary of a Lady Gardener on Instagram. And my gardening journey started, I need to work out the times again, but like 5-6 years ago. I got given an allotment for Christmas by my, at the time, boyfriend, who played an awful lot of golf and was tired of me complaining about him being away for golf. And he was like, you need a hobby. And I tried every hobby under the sun, like paddleboarding, hula hooping, embroidery, you name it. I probably tried it for at least 3 months and then the fad wears off and I got bored. But gardening, as a real people pleaser, I was like, I've been given this allotment and like, that's such a thoughtful gift if there wasn't the undertone of, I need you to not be cross with me. When here's your hobby. So I threw myself into it being like, right, must make this amazing because I've been given it, like it's a gift. And I took a week off work in the January. So that was January 2019. And I'd started my Instagram like that same week because I take too many photos and I was like, oh, I want to be able to, like, my plan was I was just going to take the same photo from the same point of the plot every single week for like the year and then see how far we got, probably expecting to give up within 3 or 4 months. And then within like a month or two, I had like a couple of thousand followers. And I'd found this incredible gardening community where people were so willing to like share their tips and tricks and hacks and send you seeds and like give you motivation at the toughest times. And they were all so excited for me to be at like that early stage that they might have been at like a week ago or 6 months ago or a few years ago. And actually a lot of those people were kind of like younger gardeners. So when I'd gone into work and told everyone I got an allotment for Christmas, they all laughed at me. They were like, when are you retiring then? Like gardening for young people. And I was like, oh yeah, it probably isn't, but like I'll be over this in 3 months, so it doesn't really matter. And I've got a funny Instagram name, so who cares? And then I'd found this amazing community and like really got into it and found everything so exciting. And as a very impatient person, really taught me a lot about patience. So year one kind of flew by and everything grew so well. Like, I wish I had the beginner's luck now.
Year one was great. With the sweet PTP in year one, like everything. And it coincided with me having my twins. So I've got 2 4-year-old boys. And then I was pregnant when Shannon got that first allotment. I just got back from South Africa, found out I was having twins at 20 weeks pregnant, and then had a roller coaster where they were born 7 weeks later. Spent 3 months in hospital. But the allotment, while I was still pregnant for that short space of time, was this new thing that Shannon was sharing, and it was this little adventure. And then when the boys were born, like the most exciting trip to kind of take them to see the teepee we'd built for them, and sharing that kind of my motherhood journey tied up with the start of Shannon's allotment journey. And that first year was just magic, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was unreal. And then I decided I wanted a bigger allotment. So I asked the allotment man. And at the time, there was like no waiting list or anything. It wasn't very trendy. I think like a lot of the council allotments had long waiting lists, but this was a private plot. So it was still like half an empty field. So I took on a bigger allotment. And then the rest is history. I think maybe a couple of years ago, I decided that I loved it enough. Like I'd gotten over the fad stage, and that like maybe I wanted to find some kind of career in it. And I didn't really know what that might look like, but I've worked in marketing for nearly 10 years at this point. So I was like doing my marketing job in the day and then coming home and starting a podcast, and was like getting to interview basically I wanted to interview all the people I'd been obsessed with on Instagram. And like I was friends with a lot of them, but I felt like I couldn't just grill them with every single question I'd ever had. So this was like my chance to do that. And then we did a community allotment at Hampton Court Palace Show Festival. At some point in the middle there, I quit my job to be a gardener because like lots of opportunities were coming up, and I was taking all my holiday from work to go and do these exciting, like go to shows and go to press events and go and film YouTube videos for like new home build companies. And I was a bit burnt out, but was also like, it's either I continue with my job and I have to stop the side hustle a little bit, or I quit my job, which wasn't being very flexible at the time, and kind of make the side hustle my main hustle. I didn't really have a plan, but kind of went along with it. And 18 months later, we're now still side hustling.
Yeah, we're now both self-employed with a very small little project that started as the Mini Gardeners Club last summer, which has now rapidly expanded quicker than we ever could have kind of envisioned. We're at where we probably thought we might never get to, or 4 years down the line. And we've got a community interest company, and we've just rebranded as the Gardeners Co. to have like this overarching kind of entity that supports every person to kind of have an opportunity to grow. And if you can't grow in your garden, you can come and grow in our garden. If you don't know how to grow, come and grow in our garden. And it's been an absolute whirlwind where we're both living the dream, working retreats and kind of doing just all sorts of crazy things with the outdoors that I couldn't have even, if you'd have told me 5 years ago I'd be doing now, I'd have absolutely laughed at you. I'd have.
So basically, I'm going to call you Shan and Tan, and you are like, your enthusiasm is so infectious. I'm just sitting here smiling, like you're chatting away and talking all about all of it, and it's all lovely, and you're still all excited, and you've got exciting things coming up, and it's literally infectious, which is just the nicest thing. I can remember, I think Shannon, when you done your podcast, I can remember being a guest on that, which was lovely. And I think that's when we maybe first chatted.
Yeah, I think we'd briefly spoken like via DMs like a couple of times, but it was the first time we really like, I think we just really got on instantly, didn't we?
Yeah.
I'm sure we were there for hours.
It was so nice. And like, I didn't even want the chat to end. Do you know what I mean? We were talking like a podcast has to end at some point, but we could have chatted for ages, which was so nice. And then the People, Plants, Wellbeing, Wild Wellbeing Retreat, Shan and Tan came along and were literally the center of the retreat as far as I'm concerned. You know, Tanya, your massages, everybody came away like in heaven because of them. And then you ran your mindful gardening session as well, which was just totally awesome. And I think because we met on that retreat, and I know you're coming back next year as well.
Yeah.
It's like, especially from that first retreat, I like you make friends for life when you do stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? When you're just in the woods and there's nothing else to do but be in the woods in each other's company, you sort of have a special connection, I think, anyway. You're going to go away and be like, what's she talking about?
Yeah,
I think we do.
I agree.
That retreat was such, it was April now. I definitely was in quite a life hasn't been kind to me for a few years, and it's always been very hard. But the moments of joy that you get kind of lift it all, and the experiences and the openness that I'm finding it is all worth it. And that retreat came at a really good time for me, and it was an absolute privilege to be a part of it. It was so joyful, and it was absolutely life-changing for me from a massage practitioner point of view. Working with people's bodies is a real privilege, and working in a holistic nature where you're kind of looking after people's whole being. It's not just what they present as an injury or where they've got aches and pains, but how that is influencing them as a whole person. Where is their mind at? What can we do to create some ease in their mind and body that can have a lasting, restful, restorative effect? If we can just let people rest a little bit, just that one thing, to have a moment of pause, the healing that can come from that is massive. And then you take that into the woods, and I honestly, I can't describe it, but the power of touch and connection with somebody in a massage session that you're then doing in a little wood-fired cabin in the woods, the power of the trees and the nature around, and the environment that they're in, this safe holding space where they're not going back to their jobs, they're not coming straight from their jobs, they're in this completely magic natural environment, soaking in all the benefits of the trees and everything. It is so amplified, and I came away from it, and I remember messaging my tutor, the woman that had taught me, an amazing woman, going, Lorraine, I really need to speak to you because you won't believe the experience I've just had with massage in the woods. And still, like, I went back to the woods for the skate retreat to massage this last week, and again, completely different retreat, completely different people, but that magic of the woods with the magic of like touch and connection, it's honestly, it's life-changing for me as a practitioner. It's such a privilege, and it's life-changing for me every single time. But then for everyone else, and seeing their experiences and hearing how they've experienced it, it's magic.
But also, you said something interesting earlier. Tan said, I'm a better person when I'm in the woods. And I was like, you really are. Like, I see the best side of Tan all of the time. When we're together, I feel like we just buzz off each other's energy. And considering we had quite a long stint of years where we didn't really get on, we weren't like enemies, but we weren't very close. And then Tan had the babies who are now 4. And we
always be your baby,
always. And we got a lot closer, but like we work together, and I feel like I do see the best side of Tan all the time. And sometimes I hear about her not so people friendly side, but in the woods she was just 100% this glowing positive ray of sunshine. And I was like, this is the Tan that I always have, and that I wish that more people saw. But you know, life is hard, and like it's hard to keep that level of energy up sometimes with so much other stuff going on. But in the woods, you can just kind of like completely let everything go. And like Tam was working really hard at those retreats.
Yeah.
But she was the best version of herself, and was just like so glowy and happy, and like just like a cloud bobbing about. It was amazing. It was wonderful to see. Like, aside from everyone who's benefiting from the massage, I feel like you really got a lot out of
massively
doing it.
It's been a hard hit back to reality, coming home to parenting and everything that normal life has to. But you take a bit of that magic with you, and you don't.
Yeah.
When you spend time in nature, you come back slightly different every time.
Yeah, you do. I totally agree with that. There's just a little part of you that changes for the better. Keep going to the woods. Don't stop.
I feel like the Wild Wellbeing Retreat had a real big impact on me as someone who's quite like I love gardening and I love nature, but I feel like I'm not quite there with like meditation and like the other ways that you can immerse yourself in nature. I'm very much like, I'll go and garden and that's my nature time. But I feel like doing some of those meditations and like the tree bathing and bits and pieces, like where before I would have been like, no, it's not for me. It doesn't work. Like it's not for me. Reiki's not for me. Like I had so many powerful experiences during that retreat where I was like, I can't even deny this anymore. Like I can't be like, no, it's not for me. It doesn't do anything. It's not worth it. Like some of it was so powerful that I was like, even if I wanted to, I couldn't say that, if that makes sense. So it definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things.
I'm so pleased that, we've discovered each other and woods, and it's changed all of our lives really, ultimately, in one way or another. But something else that has also and is changing your lives is your mini gardeners club, which is now the Gardening Co. Is that right? Have I got
Gardeners Co, but very close.
I told you last week that I was never going to remember the name.
We don't remember either.
So tell us all about it. Like, first, go back to the beginning. Where did it start with the mini gardens club, and how has that kind of evolved into what you're doing next?
So the Mini Gardeners Club is a kind of a funny one. So I did a business course, can't get words up, a business course with the Social School for Entrepreneurs and a few other people I think it started in like March. And I did this course that was all about cooperative businesses. As someone who was like, I'm not starting a cooperative business. You see a bit of a theme. I am not for this, and I don't understand it, and I don't understand how it works. And I learned about community interest companies and social enterprises and lots of different kind of business structures. And at the time, I was planning my flower farm. So I was like, right, this is the flower farm. And in one of the sessions, we had to come up with an innovation plan. And the innovation was like a new product or service that you were launching. And so my current offering was adult gardening workshops. And we'd talked about it before, I think, me and Tan, about doing workshops for kids, because playing with our mini gardeners, Finn and Noah, at the allotment had been such like a game changer, because seeing how they interacted with the plants and nature and seeing them crawl on grass for the first time was a real magical experience. That we grew up in a house with a really big garden, but actually a lot of children don't have that, and they don't have the privilege that we had in those circumstances. So we'd kind of talked about it in the innovation plans. I was like, innovation, kids garden, and then 3 months later on that course, I asked everyone when I should quit my job, and they were like, Shan, if you're not ready to quit your job now, it might be that you're not, like, you just are not the kind of person who does quit their job to do those kinds of things, and that's absolutely fine. But like, everything is pointing in the right direction for you at this point. It's now or never.
And I was preparing for Hampton at the same time, weren't you? So you were growing vegetables as quickly as possible with the very short time scale you get to from acceptance to show build for Hampton Court Palace for the community allotments. And we'd been talking about these kids gardening clubs, and I was working in a nursery at the time. So my background prior to massage, prior to everything, was early years. So I was working in this nursery that is very, very forest-based, very garden-based. They have the children outside as much as possible, but even in that environment, you still have children that don't know how to work and exist in the environment. And they gave us the opportunity to use the gardens for free. They said, you can come in on a Saturday morning and use the gardens. And Shannon was saying, no, we can't do this. I don't want to do this.
Stressed.
We're trying to get ready for Hampton. And we planned this 6-week program that would start the week after the show.
Bearing in mind, so I quit my job in May, and I had a 3 months notice period. So I had to work my last 2 days of work during Hampton Court. I had to leave Hampton Court to work my last 2 days and have my laptop.
Oh, no.
go back for the weekend. And then I literally got back. I think I went to Doncaster to film a YouTube video, then got back again, and I was done with my job. But then we started this kids gardening program, and I was like, I'm so burnt out. I've literally worked for the last 6 months straight with like not a single day off, not a single moment to myself.
I remember you saying to me, Tan, like, I don't want to do it, but if you think we've got to do it, and I was just like, I think we need to do it. We've got to do it.
You know, in like a placating someone, you're like, you literally cannot ask me about this again. I just need you to stop asking me. So if that's what you really feel, then go on and do it. We're just going to have to do it because I cannot deal with you asking me one more time.
And so we had a 6-week project in the gardens, and they were family sessions. So parents came along with their children, did some gardening workshops, like some gardening activities, loads of we had cake every week, so we baked cake. We still get asked about the courgette cake recipe to this day because Shannon did such a good job. And we did like loads of crafty bits and hanging baskets, and it really, the amount of excitement that it kind of sparked in the people that engaged with it was amazing. And one of the participants, a mum and her daughter, went home and put themselves on the allotment list as a result of that. Those workshops, and they now are one of our allotment neighbours and come to they found the garden and her son is back from uni, and they garden together, and we were able to just give that little spark that gave them, just set them off on their gardening journey. And then we finished that project at the end of the summer, and you started talking about school.
Someone told me that we needed to approach schools, and I was like, fine, I'll approach schools. And I was like, basically, I need to get this business to a point where it's enough for Tan to quit her job so that she can do it, and then I can go back to my thing. Like, I'll help her get to the point she wants to be at with what she wants to do, and then I'll leave her to it. So I was doing these schools, being like, right, we just need to get enough schools on board that Tan can quit her job, and then I don't have to do the schools anymore, because I'm not actually great with children. Like, I'm getting better, and I feel like
the children you work with would say differently, but you are not a children and animals person. Plants all the way.
Yeah. Plants and grown-ups and more.
What do you think the importance is of, introducing children to the garden? What benefits them from being out there?
I just think it benefits literally everything, like from knowing where their food comes from, like the amount of children that I've had because I did the school gardening workshops for a long time on my own with no experience working with children. So I was like, I think I probably approached it at more of a grown-up level than someone working early years would. But the amount of children that didn't understand that a potato grew from potatoes, or that carrots grew underground and not off trees, I was quite like mind blown by the things that they didn't know, which I think I'd always assumed that everyone did know. And then you've got like the mental health benefits. So we had a group of children in one of the schools who they came out for their quiet time or their brain time. And it was kind of like for them to pick what they wanted to do, whether they wanted to come and read a book, or whether they wanted to go and pull veggies or sow seeds or take down the weeds. And they talked about this space like it was this absolute haven where they really had their best time of the day there. And then you had children with additional needs like autism, ADHD especially. We find that a lot of the children that come on our programs are children with autism or ADHD. And their parents or their TAs are like, we've never seen these children like this. We've never seen them engage in that way. They would never get their hands dirty like that. They wouldn't do this. They wouldn't do that. Whereas in the garden space, I think that I don't know what it does. It's like a magic little seed that they're like, ah! And they're so excited. And I think that as adults, you kind of, not that you forget that excitement, but I think it's easy to see things and be like, yeah, I've seen it before. Yeah, I've seen it before. Whereas from working with children, it's definitely made me have like a much greater appreciation for those tiny little bits of excitement. I listened to a podcast or something a few months ago that said to live longer, you have to have 7 moments of awe in your day where you're just in awe. It doesn't have to be something like you've seen the Northern Lights and that's your moment of awe, like the tiniest thing, like the first cherry blossom on a tree or pulling a fresh carrot out the ground. And I feel like children really have that. They probably have hundreds a day, whereas as you grow up, you just learn to kind of like blanket over everything.
Yeah, and also
you have so much to learn.
You had experiences, so you kind of like, well, I've done that or I've seen that already. Kind of like, well, I've seen trees, so why is a tree so exciting? Or I've sown loads of seeds, so why is this seed so exciting? Because it's magical is why. It's amazing.
Every single one is magic. And I think that it's like when you go foraging with Danny and Chris, they are as excited to find every mushroom. They might have found that mushroom 100 times before, but their joy is like they discovered it for the first time. And I think working in education and being a parent and seeing what's going on in our world, we're all so switched off. We've got an education system that is very good at ticking boxes, but doesn't support a child's kind of holistic well-being. It doesn't really consider what their interests are. It doesn't really consider who they are as people. And I think that the outdoors has this amazing potential. It's this open air space that is wild and unchanging. We can't really control it. We can't change the weather, but we can just kind of throw ourselves into a little bit. And it's a space that we can do everything. There's nothing that we can't do in a classroom that we can't do outside. And I think that when you give children that opportunity to connect with it, they really do embrace that. And instead of switching children off and telling them that they can't be curious and they can't do that, you can't help but be curious when you're outside and you finally switch on your senses and tune in to all of those different parts. That natural curiosity that is going to make incredible adults. The garden keeps it switched on in children, whereas a classroom for lots of children turns that off because it doesn't work for them. Whereas the garden is for everyone. It's for every single person.
And you can be whoever you want to be in the garden. You can be, patient and kind, or you can be a bit more like hard going, and you can have time on your own, or you can have time with people. It can be whatever you need it to be. I'm just going back for listeners. Danny and Chris, who Tanya just mentioned, is Danny in the Wild and Bambi_Price. They run the skate retreat, so you can go and check them out. And they do genuinely do amazing foraging.
They are awesome.
They are so awesome. Like, they know so much, and like you said, they're excited at every single find as well, which is amazing. I feel like they definitely have more than 7 moments of awe in a day. Every single
100,000%. Danny's literally the coolest person I've ever met. I'm such a fan.
Danny is cool. We all want to be Danny. The Mini Gardeners Club has evolved now, hasn't it? You've got the Gardening Co. Or the
Gardeners Co.
Oh my God.
I want to get it right. I keep calling it the Growers Co. So it's the Gardeners Collective. And basically, so Shannon had started with her workshop stuff, doing adult workshops. So we tried to do some like ticketed events for really basic Learn to Grow, which weren't great, were they?
They had a lot of interest with, like, I had lots of messages about it, but there was just something stopping people from actually booking onto them. And I was finding that I was having to beg a lot of my friends to come along for free to fill the slots, because I didn't want the people who had booked to think that they were the only people there, or that it was a bit rubbish. So a lot of them were filled with like friends and family. And like my mum probably came to all of them, and she'd turn up thinking she was there as a volunteer. And I'm like, go and sit down and act like you don't know me. Obviously, you can't keep up the facade for very long, but it was a great experience, but it was a bit disheartening because I was like, I'm trying to do something that no one actually wants. But I think that we just needed to find a bit of a different way into it. And I think that, these things take time. So many people said to me, Shan, Joe Wicks did PE lessons outside in a field for free for like a year before anyone even knew who he was. Like, you have to persevere with these things. And I actually think that changing it around and starting with the children, we found the parents who come to the workshops probably love it more than the children do. And then those parents are like, do you run adult gardening workshops? Which is where it's nice now that we've got like a group of people who are interested and who kind of understand what we do and who know us and who love what we do. Now we're like, well, we can offer something for you as well as your children. So the family sessions will still always be there, but now we're expanding it so that we've got opportunities for teenagers, for adults, for women specifically, because I've run a lot of women only events, and it's been really amazing to get groups of like-minded women together, a lot of whom are struggling to make friends as adults. They're lonely. They need something to kind of like fill their time outside of work, but they don't know where to find that. And like for me, I would have never found gardening had I not ever been given that Christmas present that was really out of the blue. And whilst at the time I was a bit like, oh, that's really thoughtful, but like, not really sure I want that. Like, it really did change my life. And so I want to give other people that opportunity to try something without having to throw themselves too far into it. Because if you put yourself on an allotment waiting list right now, you're probably waiting at least a year. And if you've got a little spark of an idea and you go, oh, I'll get an allotment, then you wait a year, you get to the front of the list, as a lot of people are, and they go, oh, I'm not really that interested anymore. But had they have had it a year ago, it might have changed their life too, and they might have discovered something really magical. So I think that, like, we miss a lot of opportunity to engage with nature because you always feel like you're not in the right place, or you don't have the right equipment, or you don't have the right space, or you don't have the money to do it. Like,
well, you don't even know. You don't even know about it.
Exactly.
Like, sometimes when we know about, nature or plants or whatever, we think everyone knows about it, but so many people don't know that you can connect with it, you can engage with it, it's good for you. They don't know that. So it's very hard to sell something to someone who doesn't even know that they need it,
Definitely.
And I think that's where we're really lucky that gardening is almost our tool. Like, the same way that I always think I'm not a massage therapist. Massage is just my tool for connection. The garden is our tool for connection with people. And we're really lucky to be able to, lucky is not the word, but we're really privileged to be able to offer opportunities that engage people in different ways. So our family pop-ups for people who want to, like, spend time with their children doing something that's not soft play. For kind of those kids workshops in schools and bits and pieces for another kind of engagement. The adult events that sometimes might not be necessarily gardening workshops. So, for example, the mindful gardening, that actually you might be really interested in actually making time to have a little bit of self-care and meet some adults in that environment. So you might not even be that keen on gardening, but to get together with people and work with different groups. So we've got lots of plans to work with kind of different charities and organisations in our area to kind of give vulnerable groups or different groups of people an opportunity to come and do something they don't know is there. And for the ones that actually think they might like gardening, there's also the route to go, because how often do you go, I'd love to grow my own, but I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
And so hopefully people will be able to come and grow in our space. We're going to be growing like mushrooms and microgreens, things that people can grow at home on a windowsill. So if you don't have an outdoor space, that's okay. You can still grow things inside. Like, microgreens is such a wonderful way. I think of it as like a gateway to gardening. Like, if you've never done gardening before and you don't have the patience or the space to grow a plant outside, then microgreens is done in 2 weeks. It's so satisfying. It's so rewarding. You can see the progress day by day. And I think it's a really great, I think, gateway drug. If I'd got into microgreens first, there would have been no stopping me. I'm still dead into microgreens now, but obviously I know a lot of other bits of gardening, and mushrooms is going to be a new one for us. So I'm super excited to see how growing mushrooms is on a scale. I've grown like a little windowsill pack before.
I mean, like, mushrooms are a massive trend at the moment. I know trends come and go, but actually, we've been, like, mushrooms have been around a long time before us.
They're also so good for you.
But they're so good for you. But it's amazing that they've come around as a trend, because I think that really is getting people interested in gardening and growing, because it's so cool and so healthy, good for you. And I was just thinking about the microgreens thing, as you were saying before that, Shannon, that you weren't very patient. It's like, if you want to start gardening and you don't have any patience, start with microgreens.
100%.
You don't need patience. They just grow, and then you get the bug, and then you'll start growing more other stuff as well. But microgreens are amazing to get started with, for sure.
Definitely. I also just wanted to say, Tanya said about the word lucky. This is like a thing that I actively talk about every time I hear the word lucky.
Okay.
To get it into my own brain. People say to me all of the time, they go, you're so lucky that you're able to do what you're doing. You're so lucky to have this, that, and the other. And I do feel so, so lucky. But I think what people also don't see a lot of the time, and this is what I really struggle with, is that, like, I have literally worked myself to the bone for months and months and months and months to get to that one thing that they see, and they go, oh, that's so lucky that you've got that. And I'm like, do you know how much time and work and effort it's taken to get to that? Well, it's actually quite a small milestone. And so I really try these days to not say I'm lucky. I'm like, I have worked very hard for this
and I
to be the case.
Because we get to do what is joyful, it makes us feel happy. We're not lucky, we're just content in what we're doing. We've made choices and have opportunities, and we're outside and we're with people in really valuable ways. So because what we're doing feels purposeful and feels valuable and feels good, it doesn't almost matter how hard it is, because you're still content and joyful in it. It's it's no easier or harder than slaving away in the day job. It's, if anything, it's harder, and the highs are higher and the lows are even lower. But that contentment that we get from what we do is just it's magic.
So don't worry, I don't believe in luck. I don't believe in luck at all. You know, things come from hard work, opportunities, putting yourself out there. Yeah. And you put yourself in positions, you know, throughout life where events or things will happen. I don't think that that's luck. I don't really believe in it. But anyway, you were saying about people visiting your space. Where is your space?
So we are very, very lucky. Not lucky. We worked really hard. We worked really hard. It's, funnily enough, it's one of the first people to give me a real opportunity as a grower was the lovely head gardener at a place called Arlington Court, which is a National Trust property where we live in North Devon. So it's about 10 minutes just outside of Barnstaple. I think it's probably still technically Barnstaple.
Yeah.
And they have a massive, what's it called, house?
Yeah, so they've got a carriage museum and houses and the estate of gardens, and they've got the formal lawns and the heritage Victorian walled gardens, and then they've got the most amazing woodland and bits and pieces. And we've been running pop-up workshops in the walled gardens and on the lawn kind of monthly. Hannah, the head gardener there, had offered you space to grow last year, and you did a few pop-ups, and then this year we were like ploughing forward a little bit more, let's do some more there. And then they have next to Arlington Court there is a farmstead which has been out to Tanya for forever. But the farmer passed away last year, and no one in the family wanted to take the farm back on. So it's come back into National Trust ownership, and they're not putting it back out to Tanya. And what they're trying to create there is this vibrant community hub of different people doing different things to create a different kind of space alongside the National Trust property. So we were proposed to make a proposal for it. A lady came and said to us, I've got an idea for this space.
And we'd literally met Kate like once or twice before. Like we'd been working with the National Trust for like over a year in like doing pop-ups and volunteering and bits and pieces, and like absolutely love Hannah, the head gardener. But like Kate, we'd literally spoken to her for like 10 minutes one time, and then she came over to us and was like, are you guys still looking for a space? Because I might have an idea. And we were like, us? You don't even know us yet.
And
but
so
honestly, you only have to hear you two chatting for like 2 minutes and you're completely in it. It's like you're so fun and so enthusiastic, you know, and you've got so many good ideas, and what you want to do is so awesome that I completely understand Kate coming to you.
Thank you, Kate.
So Kate came and said, will you just come and see this space for me? Because I've got a vision for it, and I think my vision and your vision might be the same kind of vision.
And can I just say, my vision for what our permanent space was going to be looks nothing like what this space is, but it is so wonderful in so many ways. In
the way it feels, it's similar. Yeah, and there's alignments there. And what it is it's a concrete courtyard and and like an old farmstead, a calf-linny. So it's this.
Have I sent you a picture, Ellen? Can I send you a picture?
No, you need to send me a photograph.
Let me WhatsApp you a picture.
So
WhatsApp me right now.
It's this calf shed that is actually called Bambi's. There was a deer that ended up living in it for a while that they kind of rescued and looked after, but it's got these beautiful archways, and it's concrete, and we feel a bit mad putting a garden into concrete, but we're going to have a kitchen garden outside with reclaimed sleepers that we found in one of the old farm buildings that we're going to make into raised bed planters and cold frames. Downstairs is going to be microgreens and potting tables and cut flowers outside the kind of courtyard. And then upstairs in the Linny, we're going to build a mushroom. So we're going to give a go at making a micro mushroom farm in there. But it's going to be our kind of HQ, our hub of activity and workshops, where we have this space where people can come and grow with us. We should be going in the next few weeks to get started.
How exciting.
And then it's amazing, and it's really lovely to be working with the National Trust. We've had amazing support from them, and they're really excited about what we're doing. And the idea for the wider space is that there'll be kind of a schools area, and they'd like a community kitchen, and there's going to be artists and carpenters and all sorts of different kind of creative independents that fill this space across the whole farmstead. With us, we're like almost right at the centre of it, this heart of a market garden, like a kitchen garden in the middle of this beautiful kind of heritage farm state. And it's very exciting. It's going to be wonderful.
First of all, it sounds completely amazing, everything that you've just said. Secondly, I've just received the photographs and a video, which I've not played yet because we're doing this, but oh my gosh, it looks awesome.
It's so cute, isn't it?
That's so cool. And I can definitely see you having a mushroom farm up there as well.
In the roof and the
perfect
leaves.
Very cool. Where can listeners find out more about both of you individually and collectively as well?
So collectively, we are at The Gardeners Co. On Facebook, Instagram. We've got a website, thegardenerscollective.co.uk. You can email us, hello@thegardenerscollective.co.uk. Most things we share across Instagram, Facebook. I'm Diary of a Lady Gardener. Everything will be shared across both, but I think we'll probably share a bit of a different perspective of the journey. So we want to share everything from like the first day we move in with like time lapses of us building the raised beds and like really show that full process, but from two different perspectives of me as a gardener going through that process and us as a business, like setting that up. And then something that I'm really excited for is we're going to launch the Lady Gardeners Club, which I've wanted to do for years. Obviously with my handle it works perfectly. Like a women's Sunday session where once a month ladies can come and drink tea and eat cake and be merry, and we'll do like a gardening activity. So it might be like sowing seeds or doing something really cool with DIY, because I love when you give a woman a power tool who's never touched a power tool before and you see this crazed look in their faces. Like I have it every time I pick up a power tool because I freaking love them. And just do loads of really cool stuff. Like we might do some pickling and preserving, we might do some like fermenting. Like I really want to show the whole process of like sowing the seeds to growing the produce, harvesting the produce, what to do with that afterwards. I'm a terrible cook, so this is going to be a journey for us all. That's
totally part of the fun.
100%. And I love that we're doing it together. Like there's areas where I'm like, I can grow microgreens like to a fairly good extent, but we're going to scale this up massively, and it's going to be a whole new experience that we're going to learn with the people that are doing the workshops with us. And I quite like that we're not coming in it like, I don't feel like an expert, although I might be the expert in the room when we host the workshops. It's like we're learning this together, and if anything goes wrong for me, then don't feel bad when it goes wrong for you, because the amount of failures, I say failures, learnings we have.
Learning experiences.
You never stop your learnings as a gardener. There will always be a plant graveyard where something hasn't thrived.
Oh yes. It never ends. Every year there will be a plant graveyard somewhere.
Absolutely. And rule of quantity, like if I grow 1,000 plants and I kill 200, I don't notice that 200 as much as if I grow one plant and one plant dies.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't let you say your Instagram.
Tanya, what's your Instagram?
My Instagram, you can find me. Oh, I've got so many of them that do different things, but you can find my kind of family stuff and most of my gardening stuff at The Garden Mum, and as well on The Gardeners Co. So kind of share across both of those what we're up to. You see lots of stuff with my mini gardeners getting involved in all of our workshops. They are the best workshop hosts you've ever met.
They are.
And they are crazy hard work at home, but you get them in the garden and they're suddenly these little helpful bods that love everything and love people and just want to get involved with everything.
I don't think they're hard work at all. They're just the most wonderful people I've ever met.
Oh, I love it. So at the moment you're in Devon. One final thing. Are you going to take over the whole of the UK soon?
We'd love to. We'd love to.
I've got my sights set on, like, in a couple of years, when you have to say things out loud for them to come true. This is me saying it out loud and manifesting that this is what I want. I love North Devon with all my heart, but I feel like there's been so many points in my life where I've wanted to move away and get out of Barnstable for a bit that I haven't been able to for various reasons, including the babies being born. I don't want to miss their life. But in a couple of years, I would like to move like a few hours away to set up the next kind of like base of the Gardeners Co, because I really think if we can create something amazing here that we can then replicate across the UK, that would be the goal. And I'd love to move to somewhere like Bristol, Bath, or maybe like Falmouth, somewhere quite cool.
Can I just say that Tanya looks a bit sad when you said that?
She wants to be too, so it's fine.
Luckily, we get to do lots of travelling. Part of what we do is getting to take it kind of on the road and do our pop-up stuff. So like last year we took the mini gardeners to Hampton Court Palace. That was this year. We took them.
Time flies, don't worry.
I know. And we did a few local festivals in our area. We'd love to kind of do some more festivals and kind of take our travelling workshop, which is just the tiniest snippet, around a little bit more. And we've definitely got some big plans for other kind of festival appearances and that smaller stuff.
I've just bought a van, so we can do that now.
And the woods, more retreats in the woods, any of those things. We have lots of those in the pipeline. And until we've got gardens everywhere, we've got workshops everywhere.
I think you've got work to do. You've got work to do, girls.
We're at that point where, I don't know if you ever get past this point, but I said it when I quit my job. I was like, I'm at a point where I'm just saying yes to everything, because you never know what opportunities might lead to what. And sometimes you do something and you think, oh, was it really worth it? Like, should we have done that? Have we made a mistake? And like, potentially it wasn't the right thing, but you get something out of everything. And we've learned so much from like certain festivals we've done, and we've been like, we kind of thought this might not be for us, and actually it isn't for us, so we won't do it again next year. We didn't have the best time.
It's all part of business. It's all part of running business as well, especially new businesses,
Exactly. So yeah, we've had so many amazing opportunities in the last 18 months, and I feel that those opportunities are just going to keep on rolling.
We just keep meeting awesome people.
I honestly think that the opportunities are going to keep coming your way for sure, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you both again at the retreat, Wild Wellbeing Retreat, People, Plants, Wellbeing, in April next year, and at any other shows or events around. I will never forget walking around Hampton, and I was with Michael and literally Shannon first and then Tanya behind literally ran towards us. You were so
big
excited.
Group bundle of a cuddle.
We had a big hug, didn't we? Which was so nice. I'm thrilled for both of you. I really am. Really looking forward to seeing, all your progression and everything. It's really cool. So yeah, listeners, do go check them out. I'll put some information in the description to this podcast and links as well, so you can go and click on that and go and have a little look at the website. And I'm not going to say I wish you luck, because I don't wish you luck at all.
What
can you say? Like, all the best sounds a little bit kind of blurred, doesn't it?
I always say,
make that happen.
Yes. I always say, just sending good vibes.
Sending good vibes, make it happen, manifest it, all is well. Thank you so much to both of you.
Thank you.
Ellen.
We love you, Ellen.
Thank you. Well, wasn't that fabulous? Honestly, I feel so uplifted just listening to Shannon and Tanya. It's just really cool to see kind of newer people coming into horticulture and just doing great things, bringing people together, getting people to connect with nature through plants and mindful gardening and all those kind of great activities, from young children to adults, and finding safe spaces for women also to meet people, have some fun and connect with nature. So well done to both Shannon and Tanya. It's such a pleasure to chat with them, and I hope you really enjoyed that episode. Now, next week, Michael and I will be back with a podcast which is really, really cool, all about garden design and resilient planting, and that might give you a clue to who the guest is. But if you keep an eye on our socials over the coming week at the Plant-Based Podcast, you will find out who it is. So until next week, hope you have a great autumnal week of gardening.
Introducing our sponsors, LAVA-LITE. Now, LAVA-LITE No Slugs is the other red one. Preserve your plants by creating a ring of protection that slugs and snails just won't want to cross. No Slugs is highly absorbent material that acts as a natural slug deterrent and barrier whilst benefiting your plant with moisture control properties. A natural, child and pet-safe pest control product that doesn't harm any predators. Look out for it online or in your local gardening stores. The music for the Plant-Based Podcast is part of the song Grow by Mikey James, and our editor is Gareth Patch of Semi Echo.